Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about my research project on the social interactions of translocated bison in Theodore Roosevelt National Park. First, I'd like to acknowledge my incredible co-authors, first from Theodore Roosevelt National Park, Dr. Blake McCann, and from the University of North Dakota, Dr. Joseph Ellis-Felipe. In the 1880s, tens of millions of bison once roamed freely in North America, but due to overhunting, the population dropped to approximately 500 individuals in 1887. Bison populations are mainly now separated into two management areas, first for commodity production, such as for meat, and for conservation. Conservational efforts are in place for bison, however, with herds being smaller and more clustered, current herds are restricted in their distribution and movement. Therefore, managers want to improve the species by increasing the population numbers and increase the genetic diversity. One technique that managers use to increase the population number and the genetic diversity is called translocations. And this is where individuals are moved from one area to another. This is a useful tool for management of a species, as it can be used to reintroduce a species to their formal distributional range or reinforcement of diminishing populations. However, it can also be used to promote genetic diversity by intermixing individuals from different areas, which increases gene flow. And although bison translocations are not as common, it is used in populations in North America. And today I'll be talking about Theodore Roosevelt National Park. So a brief history on the Theodore Roosevelt National Park herd. There were no bison in Theodore Roosevelt National Park when the park was first created. But in 1956, the South Unit received 29 bison that were moved from Fort Niobrara National Wildlife Refuge near Valentine, Nebraska. 6 years later, 20 bison were relocated from the South Unit to the North Unit. In both units, the bison population was growing, and periods of removal or culling of bison occurred to keep the populations at a sustainable level to keep resources available for the bison. However, no new bison had arrived since the original 29 that was introduced in 1956. Furthermore, the North Unit and the South Unit are approximately 50 miles apart, and both units are fenced, as this does not allow the two herds to interact and breed with each other or any other possible herds. This can lead to inbreeding issues such as possible reduced birth rates and individuals being less resilient to disease, just to name a few, which all lead to low genetic diversity. So to combat this, in October of 2017, 12 female bison were translocated from Badlands National Park near Rapid City, South Dakota, into the North Unit of Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Now, managers can move individuals, but it's not successful if they do not survive, stay on site, interact with individuals from the local herd, and breed. But to be able to interact, resident individuals need to accept translocated individuals, which can be demonstrated by behaviors. When the translocated females got to the North Unit of Theodore Roosevelt National Park, they were fitted with radiotelemetry / global positioning system collars, also known as GPS collars. And during that time, 10 resident individuals, or females, were collared as well. And both collars provide information on movement patterns and individual or group interactions with the ecosystem, such as habitat use. The main difference is that radiotelemetry collars require researchers to be in the field, while GPS collars do not, as the information is delivered to them by satellite. However, with a small subset of resident individuals, or resident females with GPS collars, a translocated female could be with a non-collared resident herd, and that would appear that she was alone on a map. The collars can only provide baseline data, therefore detailed interactions on social interactions require on-the-ground observations. Therefore, the objective of the study was to determine if resident and translocated bison are interacting as an integrated herd. Specifically, 1, do translocated bison integrate with resident herds, and 2, are translocated bison positively or negatively interacting with residents. Our fieldwork was conducted in Theodore Roosevelt National Park, which is managed by the National Park Service. We specifically monitored in the north unit of the park, and that unit is located in western North Dakota near Watford City and is 9,741 hectares big. The study was done from the 18th to the 23rd of December in 2018. Translocated bison were found by scouting from the road and using GPS locations from their collars, and direct observations were made either in the field or in a car. We conducted focal and scan type observations on the herd or individuals. Focal observations were used to get observations on a specific individual and done with 10 by 42 binoculars, and scan observations were used to capture overall herd dynamics and were done with a 20 to 60 range spotting scope and using a Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus phone attached to it to record video. When we would find a translocated female, we would walk to a safe distance somewhere between 30 to 45 yards and begin a 10-minute cool-down period to allow the animals to adjust to my presence or for me to rest my eyes. Then I would conduct a 10-minute focal observation, and once that was over, I would conduct a 30-minute scan observation. And that 30-minute scan, during that, I would simultaneously be doing a focal observation that included 10-minute cool down in the beginning, a 10-minute focal in the middle, and a 10-minute cool down at the end. Now, to identify who was translocated versus who was resident, as I mentioned before, there was 9 translocated females and 10 residential females that were given radio telemetry / GPS collars, and each of those collars have a unique frequency and a unique collar number. In addition, each translocated female was given a unique numbered orange ear tag, this up here, and then each resident collared female was also given a unique numbered green ear tag. And if an individual did not have a collar and an ear tag, they were also a resident. Behaviors are classified by previous studies done on bison behavior by Lott, Schultz, and McHugh. We used non-aggressive, aggressive, and sexual subgroups of behaviors totaling about 15 different behaviors. For analysis, we compared the time or quantity of behaviors between translocated and resident individuals, which the residents were used as a control, and summarize the observations. We found and positively identified 6 out of the 9 translocated females. There were 3 females that that was also recorded that we could not get ear tag numbers on there, but there could be repeats of already confirmed females. Out of the 8 independent observational periods on the herds, all translocated females were found with resident herds, and we conduct 33 focal observations and a total of 17 scan observations, which was mostly split between translocated and resident individuals. We wanted to look at the location of translocated females in the herd to determine whether the female was socially integrated into resident herds. Data was based off of scan observations and field notes. Translocated females were mixed in the herds, and no translocated female was observed by herself away from the herd. After roughly 16.5 hours of watching in the field and 8.5 hours of video, nothing major happened. But for focal observations, there were 0 aggressive behaviors from females as they participated in grazing, standing, or resting behaviors. And for scan observations, there was 2 behaviors, play mounting, which is the video being showed right now, and passive avoidance that was recorded on individuals. However, they were between residents. Translocated females participated in grazing, standing, or resting behaviors. Overall, the study produced data that showed that translocated females are found within resident herds, and they are not segregated outside of herds or in any specific position within the herds. There are no aggressive behaviors among translocated and resident individuals. This can be due to the antisocial behavior of mature males during the winter, which can decrease the number of interactions between bison. In the future, we are going to go back into the field during the summer months to get pre-breeding season, which runs from May to mid-July, and breeding season observations, which runs from mid-July to August. We expect sexual and aggressive behaviors to increase on or by translocated females due to the aggressiveness that occurs during the breeding season. We want to be able to get to all 9 translocated females to see if to look at the other 3 that were missed and see if they were socially integrated into the herds or not. We also want to record the number of calves from the translocated females from this year's calving period, as paternal parentage would be from resident bulls and would confirm interaction from the 2018 breeding season. And finally, we are going to look at the herd composition to see how many translocated and residents are in a herd together, and the demographics, such as the ratio of males and females and the age class of the herd's individuals. Before ending, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge those that have contributed to the project. Without their help and collaboration, this project would not be possible, so we're incredibly grateful for them. I just want to give a big shout out and appreciation to Susan and Blake again. They really made this project happen. And to UND, the biology department, and obviously McNair for having this as a requirement. It really helped getting this going. U.S. Master Scholarship provided a lot of monetary needs for the equipment, so I really appreciate them. And Chelsea Berg and Abby Keller, undergraduates in the UND Wildlife Biology program, they came out into the field with me. And Andrew Barnes and Sam Hervey are UND graduate students in the biology department, and they helped me create the maps, which is a bigger deal than I might realize. And with that, I'm willing to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
This isn't about your study in particular, but I know there's a lot of buffalo that are bred for meat. I mean, where I live, there's buffalo farms a mile away. Is there any interchange of breeding for genetic diversity between the domestic, well, they're not really domestic, but the ones that keep for meat and then the ones that they have out in the parks?
That I know of, I don't think that really happens, because the ones that are kept for meat are also really have a lot of cattle genes in them, and the federal herds are trying to keep the bison genes mostly together and not mixed with the cattle genes. So not that I know of, I don't think that happens. Sure.
I know sometimes I've heard when they call the herd, sometimes they give them to reservations, either have a herd on their reservation or for meat. Does Theodore Roosevelt take part in that?
Yes, they do. Actually, I think just within the past month, they shot 3 bison for ethical reasons, and then they donated those to the tribes. So yeah.
Because I think Fort Tonkin has a small herd of buffalo out there.
I don't know about that, but yep.
Just wondering if there's been any human-wildlife interactions with these bison in terms of human health and safety. Anyone get injured by one of these things while visiting the park ever in the history, or anyone killed?
So I think it was 2 years ago. I believe it was 2 years ago. Someone did get gored in the north unit. They were on a trail and they were taking a photograph of a bison, and then they didn't realize that another one was behind them. So yeah, they got gored. I know it happens in Yellowstone every year. Yeah, it happens. Thank you.